What's that? We don't have a quorum. We do. We do. Trudy.
You gotta count me.
Trudy. I gotta shut myself down.
Okay, we are taping.
Okay, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Judy, can you do the roll call?
Sure. Deb Allen, present. Gwen Elgar, here. Trudy Gala, here. Dan Hines.
Here.
Rick Foster.
Present.
Richard Esperding is absent. John Gallagher is absent. We have a quorum.
So we have approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Approval of the November 15th, 2022 minutes. I don't have anything on it.
Me neither. I'll make a motion to approve
Okay.
the
Second.
minutes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Public comment. Anybody from the audience wishes to speak during public comment? Okay, moving along. Unfinished business, I don't believe we have any, right, Judy?
Right.
Organizational items. Item number 1, election of vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. John Gallagher is automatically the chairperson because state law requires the county treasurer to be the treasurer, to be the chairperson of the land bank. So, do I have a motion for the vice chair position?
I move that John continue in that position since he's done such an excellent job.
Support.
Okay. Any other nominees for vice chairperson? I will close the nominations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Now, treasurer and secretary. Rick Foster is currently the treasurer. Do I hear a nomination for the treasurer position?
I'll nominate Rick as treasurer.
I'll support.
Okay. Any other nominations? All those in favor, I'll close the nomination process for the treasurer position. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. And finally, position of secretary, which has been held by Trudy Gala fantastically over the last several years. I need a nomination for the secretary position.
I would move that,
Okay.
okay, go ahead and I'll support.
Okay. Any other nominations? I'll close nominations. All those in favor of having Trudy as the secretary signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0.
Can I interrupt you one moment? I do have 2 extra packets, Gwen or Rick. If you want a full packet, I have them printed out here.
Yes, I would.
Instead of electronic.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that earlier.
That's
I'm good. I have mine. Okay.
The next item is the review and adopt the 2023 meeting schedule on page 5 of your packet. I mean, customarily, we're always the 3rd Tuesday of the month.
Right.
Followed by the Brownfield meeting. I did see that in August, there is a brownfield, and we have some land bank members that are also on brownfield. There is a brownfield convention in Detroit, but I see that it's tentatively for the week before, so it shouldn't get in the way of this. So do I have a motion to approve the schedule?
I'll make a motion to approve the schedule for the Land Bank Authority as presented.
Support.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Review and adopt bylaws. Pages 6 to 14. As Trudy has said, in a correspondence to all of you, that all of these documents, bylaws, policies and procedures, have been approved last year, of course, and previous to the approval, they have gone past our government council for updates, and everything is incorporated into that. So I don't expect much of anything in here, but I've got some things, just typos more than anything, and there's maybe one thing that we might have to change. So let me start by saying on page 6, again, these are very small, very, very small. Item 1.1, name, then there's a huge space, that should be brought all the way up. Page 7 of 85, second line, the end of the sentence reads by the Land Bank, comma, Act. I think we need to take out the comma because it's the Land Bank Act, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then, again, small things, item B, still, last line, it looks like, the last two words look like they're put together, so we need a space between those two. Yeah, these are very small. Page 8 of 85, the left-hand margin, we got to remove the, what are those vertical lines, editorial thingies?
I think they're from the tracking. I tried to remove them and I didn't. I'm just going to reformat this whole thing because there's problems with it.
Those were the lines where we had changes to the
Right.
last year.
And when I accepted the changes, they didn't come out.
Okay, so now the only thing that I'm thinking we might have to talk about is item 4.5, quorum. The last three lines say a director may participate in a meeting by electronic communication by which such director can hear and be heard with such remote attendance as in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. I thought the county, when Chet was around, did away with allowing Zoom or anything like that meetings.
Well, it's my understanding that it wasn't allowed by law once we got through the COVID, through the pandemic, only if you are serving. If you're in service station somewhere. Otherwise, there's no other reason because you're ill or anything like that anymore. Would that be correct, Deb?
That's my understanding as well.
And that's a state issue.
Right.
So why do we have it in there if we allow people to participate in the meeting that way? I assume that means, it says a director may participate. Yeah.
Yeah. Deb, is that consistent with what the county board's language is to allow that in case there is another situation where it rises where we could use electronic means? Or is it not even necessary to have that sentence in?
I think I would remove the sentence, would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Although it does say, if it's in compliance with the Open Meetings Act.
Either
And
way.
it's not right now.
Correct, it's not. The only scenario where it would be is, again, if it's something that's approved by the state.
So that's one suggestion then, so far. Page 13 of 85. Just the first partial paragraph on top, so that lines 3, 4, and 5 is more or less just a question to Trudy. Have you filed with the parties to an intergovernmental agreement and with the Board of Commissioners of Leelanau County a report detailing the activities of the corporation. I know you did when I was on the planning commission with you.
Right.
Did you do that for the land bank, or did John do it for the land bank?
Maybe John did that. I'd have to check with him.
Okay. And then the vertical lines in the left column there, by 11.4
Yeah.
have to go. And that's it for mine.
Let's see.
I think my comments are more under the next segment, so.
Okay. All right, so we have one suggested change in some typos. So do we have a motion to accept those changes and then the bylaws in total?
So moved.
Support?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Next is review of policies and procedures. I think I had some comments first. Again, typos. 17 of 85. Last line, the last two words, there's I lost a few there.
I like policies.
Well, you can vote on it then. All right, the next page, 18 of 85, right on top, F.
Oh,
This was
supposed to
last
delete
year
that.
too. So.
Yeah.
Create an evaluation system to effectively analyze all property, so separate transfer from request, make it to 2 words, and then delete the items, the words in parentheses. And you need to talk about that, Trudy?
You know, I'd have to look back at our minutes from last year to see if we deleted that or not.
Yes.
We did delete the whole item F?
No, it was left there.
Okay.
You would have had that vertical thing to.
Yeah, we haven't, if I remember right, I brought this up because our procedures already look at all of these transfer requests and we bring them here and analyze them and so forth. So I wasn't sure why we were, to me, it seemed like a duplicate, that we were then going to create an evaluation system to go through all these. We don't get very many of them to deal with anyway. So do we even need that item F?
I'm thinking you're right, probably don't.
So just delete that whole
That'll be a
parentheses.
suggested change, yep, to
Okay.
vote on it, yep. And then, item 2C, the second line, end of that line, looks like to me like and education are together.
Space.
That might be the right column justification as squeezed it, so. 19 of 85, just to bring up something that we are going to discuss later under discussion items. The fourth line, end of that line says mortgage foreclosed. So seems like we put a mortgage on a Habitat property. The county put it, I don't know if it was the county board of commissioners or whether or not it was the revolving delinquent tax fund money that put it on there, but John's not here, but he probably knows, I think he would. So I just wanted to bring to attention that, yes, we have the right to do that according to what we got here. Just an observation, in B, step 3, it says, the land banks are only exempt from environmental liability when property is acquired involuntarily. So I don't, again, we're gonna talk about this with Wendy Urban. The Habitat property, we're not gonna take over because it's a tax foreclosure, so there's potential for environmental liability in that case, unless I don't know all the facts at this point about whether or not it's gonna be a tax foreclosure or not. Step 4 there says to obtain appraisal or market value estimate. We haven't done that on.
Which page are you on?
Same
Sorry.
page, 19 of 85, step 4.
Okay.
Obtain an appraisal or market value estimate. We haven't done, to the best of my knowledge, haven't done that on Merrick Road or Maple City Crossings. Well, Maple City we bought, so.
Mhm.
But I'm.
Yeah, we did. There were 2 appraisals done on the Maple City one.
Okay.
And then Merrick Road was a tax foreclosure. So we didn't do an appraisal on that. The county land bank authority got that property through a tax foreclosure.
Right, but it doesn't say that you, because it's a foreclosure, you shouldn't need to.
Well, item B there is covering the acquisition of non-tax foreclosed properties. So
Okay.
Merrick Road was a tax
Richards
foreclosure.
Crossings was a non-tax foreclosed
Maple
property.
City Crossings, right.
Page 20 of 85, top of the page, item F. Again, very small. After the comma, you got LCDA. Is this supposed to be LCLDA?
Yep.
Item 2, 2II, where it starts off the word development, which results in preserving, with the second line, affordable home ownership. To me, that looks like that's one big word.
Okay.
And just an observation for members that item B1, bottom of the page, the potential for conveyance to general proceeds to support and enhance the operation of the function. Well, we've got 6 properties in our inventory that were foreclosed for tax foreclosure purposes. We're getting a real estate contract together that we're going to talk about on item 4. But here's just proof that we could sell a property and use the proceeds for a different project if it makes sense for us to do it. Like the Cherry Home property, which is in the unique subdivision by Northport. We own one of those properties. That's never going to be approved for a brownfield plan or anything like that. So there's an example here where that would be a perfect one under the step. Just take the cash and put it into some other project that would be great for affordable housing. So item F, on page 21 of 85, item F1. I know we voted on it and we passed it that we agreed to sell the Shockley property north of Suttons Bay to the Grand Traverse Band for a $1 another valuable consideration, which is lower than our carrying cost, which was like $5,000 or so. So we're still good with that, right?
That is on your agenda for item number 3 today.
Okay. And page 24 of 85, step 3, reporting requirement, says all conveyances entered into by, in this case, the chairman, will be reported in writing to us at the next meeting. Is that why you're going to talk about? Well, that's item, are we going to discuss that? Maybe it's on brownfield. The disposition of.
The Grand Traverse Band property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so those are my suggestions. Anybody else have suggestions that would possibly proceed? Deborah?
Actually, I think it's not in the goals, so I'm good. You
Okay.
caught several that I had noticed, so all good.
Okay.
Would you like a motion to approve
Um,
as amended?
yes. Do I
So
hear one?
moved. Yep.
I would move to approve the changes to policies and procedures as noted.
I'll support them. All good.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Now, the goals for 2023. I went back and made sure what I'm going to say is the right thing. Last year, when we put the goals together, and what you see was supposed to be what last year's goals are, I would imagine. But there were several changes that we approved to the goals last year, and now I see that none of those changes are in the current proposed goals. So let me state what changes were approved last year, and then we can go from there. Line 1, use the land bank disposition program to insert the words create affordable / attainable housing and to, and the rest is okay. So it should read, use the land bank disposition program to create affordable / attainable housing and to promote the economic development in the creation of jobs. Step 2, line 2 should read shop for developers to access the land bank and brownfield. We deleted the words and the economic development corporation developments because that's an inactive organization, I'm told. So therefore, until it becomes activated, there's not much that we're putting in for. Step 5, the last 2 letters, they're chucked together, so those should be two separate words. Then under organization, item 3, second line, the last 2 words should be separated. Same for item 4, the last 2 words on line 3 should be separated. And that's it.
Dave, just under organizational number 1, same thing, the end of that sentence. It looks like they're just a spacing issue as well. Programmatic goals.
Right.
And when I put this in the packet, must have pulled up the wrong version of that.
It was the one that was probably in the
Yeah.
January meeting.
Yeah. So I'll make sure that gets changed.
Would you repeat number 1?
Use the land bank disposition program to create affordable / attainable housing. And then the other thought is to promote the economic development. That was something that Ty Russell, I guess, I was too, because we are all for affordable housing and nothing in here really, and then he says it should also be called attainable.
Yes, I
So-
agree. Yes.
Any other comments, suggestions? So do I have a motion to accept the changes of the 2023 goals? So
Support.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. So now,
Just, that was all the changes that were for the 2023 goals.
yes,
Okay.
so now we're at page 26, request from Habitat for Humanity. And you all were given an attachment that was dated Friday, January 13th, that talked about what was being proposed. So I had some questions about it, so it's better that we just have Trudy explain what is happening here.
Okay, and Wendy Irvin is here from Habitat for Humanity to make sure I've got this all correct and to answer any of your questions. This is a property in the area of Cedar where it is a home that Habitat for Humanity has the first right to repurchase it and are trying to execute that right because the homeowner is ready to sell and move on. There are two separate tax parcel numbers and two separate property identifications for this. So she owns this lot and she owns this lot. One of the lots has a house on it. The other lot is vacant, but we're told that it is buildable. Two narrow lots. So what has happened so far is the county board has agreed to put a mortgage on the property with the house on it to help Habitat get those funds so that they can purchase this back. And this is a request for the Land Bank Authority to consider a similar situation. And my suggestion would be to keep it clean is to put it on the vacant lot. That way Habitat has the ability to build on that second lot and sell that one as well. We don't have mortgages crossing those property lines. So if Habitat can acquire this, they're going to acquire one home back with the ability to possibly build a home on the second and have two homes there that they can then resell. So this would be assisting them in getting those funds. They have a limited time period. If they don't go through with this, then the property owner has the right to sell it for whatever they can sell it for on the open market. So Habitat has gotten the appraisal on the property, has gotten title work. The county board will be considering the request tonight. They already made a recommendation last Tuesday to consider this tonight. And that's a pretty quick summary for it. So Wendy, if you want to add to it or answer any other questions, that's very quick for you to just kind of outline it.
Thank you for having me here today. Yes, Trudy is correct in the summary. I think I would add to that that the gap that exists in purchasing this property right now, we are receiving funding through loan opportunities. We have not received any grant dollars, although we are applying for the missing loan, so we're hopeful that maybe we could have grant investment in this as well. The appraised value for the two parcels came in at $240,000. The homeowner has been working with us for some time, wanting to sell this property back, and we're going to exercise our right of first refusal. However, she has not been able to find the other housing. So this is a conversation you may recall that we have actually initiated almost a year ago at the county level. So they have agreed, and we'll be in front of them again tonight to contribute $60,000 in a mortgage or a loan. So when the house is sold, we pay them back. So to date, we haven't received any grant contribution, which I truly need, but we are grateful for any type of investment to be able to bring this property back into our possession and make sure that we can secure it for affordable housing. We feel we need to do our due diligence, and that's why we have right of first refusal on every property. But now we never know when we'll be faced with this opportunity, and we don't always have the cash flow to be able to purchase a home, especially in this market. So we do want to make sure we secure the homeowner within that last year, as I explained, has been able to secure a new housing for a move and a new job that she took. So she'd like to make that happen by the end of February. And in our agreement with homeowners, we have to work within a 60-day period of time, or they can start to seek other investors and to sell that from under us. I did receive her formal request last week, so that starts the clock ticking for us to purchase them back. And that's why we're in front of you today, to see if you're able to make an additional investment to help us get this in our possession.
Okay. I've got some questions before we continue on. The original deal with Habitat was for both lots? Okay. And there's two separate lots.
The homeowner will, yes, correct.
Okay. And there is not a potential, well, there might be a missing middle.
We are applying for missing middle funding. There's no guarantee there. Missing middle funding will only be successful if we use that rehab property for a homeowner that's above that 60% AMI. So, it's a process of getting those dollars, but at this moment in time, that's the only grant opportunity that can help assist Habitat with those costs.
Does missing middle qualify as still affordable housing?
Yes.
It does,
Yes.
okay.
We serve 32.6 to 80 area median income normally in the Habitat model. We can go higher in our Maple City Crossings property because the land bank has allowed us to do that. We can sell the final 2 properties at market rate. Our board has not chosen to do that. They would like to not exceed 120 area median income. So we find that there are still there's still a great need in every income bracket, right, in the community.
Okay, now the deed for both lots has some kind of restriction in it that says that Habitat has the first right of refusal.
Yes, that's right. Our homeowners we have a right of refusal to purchase the home back.
And there's an existing mortgage on it.
That's correct. That needs to be paid off.
For how much roughly?
It's roughly $20,000 will be paid off. That's the final amount of the mortgage.
Out of the $240,000 for market value, there's only $20,000 debt against it?
Well, when she purchased the home, when we built it, of course, we offered to her, the way we normally do with our homeowners, is an affordable housing rate, a mortgage that she could afford at that time. So she bought it about 15 years ago, and it's a 900 square foot home. Her mortgage was, we customized the mortgages to each homeowner that would fit 30% of their income or less. So depending on, this was before my time, but the model still exists, depending on where that client was on the 30 to 80 area median income, right?
Okay.
I don't know exactly what her income was at that time, but 30% of her income toward housing would have created that original mortgage. So
Okay.
yes, and everything goes through the principal. So we were working through affiliate mortgage services with all of our, as our lender, with all of our mortgages. So there's a 0% interest. Anything that our homeowners contribute goes directly to the principal. So she would have had an opportunity in 15 years to pay down. And most of our homeowners at that time were actually only had 20-year mortgages.
Okay.
The times have changed, right? We have to extend out to 30 and sometimes even 40 years. That's a rarity, but sometimes 40 years in the mortgage to make sure it's affordable.
So right now, there is a first mortgage on the property,
Yes.
and then part of the $60,000 mortgage that the Leelanau County is going to have on it would be initially a second mortgage, but they'll use 20 grand of that to pay off the first mortgage. So essentially, Leelanau County has a first mortgage.
The homeowner will pay off the first mortgage. They need to pay it off and then purchase the home back. And then there will be a lien on the property for $60,000. So when we bring the new homeowner and serve them, once that home is sold, we pay the county back first.
Okay.
Our mortgage would actually end up being the first mortgage,
Yes, that's correct.
because Habitat's going to purchase it back and pay everything off. Our mortgage gets recorded. And then Habitat has that to sell.
Beyond the 60,000, then your organization has funds to pay off the entire, the purchase price would be 240,000?
That's correct.
So you do have the financing for that?
Less the amount that the homeowner has to pay off.
Right.
We're about 50,000 gap right now, even with the missing middle and all the other contributions, but we have an investor who may assist us that's been waiting to understand what that final number looks like. Again, all of these commitments are investments in some property, none of them are grants to date, and the missing middle was the only opportunity for a grant. No guarantee there either, so we really do need assistance in just making sure we can get it back into our possession and serve another family. Here, the key to this is we can potentially serve 2 families because the parcel's getting split and serve another homeowner. We talked to the
Zoning administrator?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tim Cypher.
Tim, we talked to Tim, and he has reassured us that this is available a lot.
Okay, good. That was the next question. And the 240,000 includes the vacant parcel also?
Yes, it's 225 for the one parcel that Trudy was alluding to earlier. 225 came back from the appraisal for that parcel and the house on it. And then separately, the second parcel is 15,000 if you pay them separately.
Okay.
In my conversations with John Gallagher, who's not here today, he was thinking that our recommendation might be to fund it for $15,000 with the appraised value of that second property.
Okay. And obviously, then, the part I don't understand is secured by a mortgage.
Right, so this property owner is going to sell both of these pieces to Habitat for Humanity, at which time the mortgages get paid off. Habitat owns it clean. But at the closing, we will record our mortgages. So the Leelanau County mortgage, the Board of Commissioners would get recorded on what I'm going to say is the east side, that's the home. And if Land Bank agrees to a mortgage, that mortgage will be put on the other parcel. So then Habitat owns the properties and owes the county through the Land Bank and the county board that money when they sell those properties.
So Habitat is hoping to flip the property with the home on it right away, so the county will be paid off. And then our $15,000 investment will stay that way until,
Yeah, they'd be tied up a little longer. So the mortgage has already been drafted by the attorney for Leelanau County, and I told them that we may need one for Land Bank as well. So the one with the county is at 0% interest, and he did it for 3 years with a balloon payment, which we're not expecting 3 years because, of course, Habitat wants to go in there and make sure the property's ready to sell and get a family in there quickly. And then they'll have to go to the second lot and build on that.
The second lot will take considerably longer than the first. If we're going to actually build a home and select a family, but the first one, we do hope to rehab the home and find a family and make that faster process, right?
So if the Land Bank agrees to this, it would be to approve, I'm just going to throw this out here because it's similar language what I gave to the county board, be to approve putting a mortgage on the vacant parcel with corporate counsel drafting the documents for final signature. And he already has the mortgage and the promissory note done to the county board, so I'm assuming he'd do a similar one for the Land Bank.
I'm just a little confused with the term mortgage. Mortgage would indicate that there's a debt against it, and the debt is secured by a mortgage.
Right.
We're not going to have any debt on the vacant property. We're going to have a $15,000 purchase. So there shouldn't be a mortgage, or should be.
We're not purchasing it. We are basically loaning Habitat $15,000 in the form of a mortgage that will
They're
be
gonna use
recorded
it.
on the property. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Same with the county board, that's the same thing. There's no purchase involved. Habitat's making the purchase. We're loaning them the money.
And since it's a loan, not a purchase, and it's not a purchase through foreclosure, then we don't have to do the appraisal thing that the bylaws say.
They've already done the appraisal. I've got a copy of that.
Okay, John's not here to add much, to add anything about this. I'm sure Trudy has covered everything that he would have said. So I opened it up for the rest of us to talk about it, whether or not the Land Bank wants to do this. I think we have $15,000 in our checking account unencumbered by something else, right?
Yes.
The goal is eventually to start selling some of our foreclosed properties. We had 6 of them, and we're working on one. Now the appraisal on that came down quite lower than what we thought it would be. But anyway, it's more than 15,000. So, discussion.
Well, we discussed this also at the commissioners' meeting, and I supported that motion. And I'm not able to repeat what Trudy said, but I would support that. I would make that motion.
I would support that motion.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we have a motion.
Could you read it back, Trudy, if you have the ability?
Off the top of my head. I didn't type it.
We'll wait to vote until you.
All right, let me
Try to
type
put
it in
something
here.
down.
And thank you for your work in the county.
Thank you all as well. I wish there were an easier way to get this back into our possession. I wish we had $240,000 in cash that on any time, given time, a homeowner approached us, we would just be able to do that, but if we had 240,000 in cash, we'd be using it on another project, I guarantee you. So we will always be faced, we hope that we can to change that and have investment dollars in our future. Any type of opportunity to invest in this and put it back in our possession and serve the family, we greatly appreciate it.
So I have a motion by Elgar, second by Allen, to approve a mortgage with Habitat for Humanity on the vacant parcel in Cedar, with corporate counsel drafting the mortgage and promissory note for final signature. I should say an amount of $15,000, is that what?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yes.
And then could you read that once more?
Mortgage. Okay, mortgage by, excuse me, motion by Elgar, second by Allen, to approve a mortgage with Habitat for Humanity on the vacant parcel in Cedar in the amount of $15,000, with corporate counsel drafting the mortgage and promissory note for final signature. Did that cover it?
And I don't know, and the approval of the land bank to disperse $15,000 from this, because it's more than just the mortgage, it's the dispersal of cash.
And you want to say that one more time, Dan?
And the payment of $15,000 of land bank monies.
Oh, $15,000.
Well, of course, I didn't amend this, you still have to agree with it.
You guys agree to that?
Yes.
At the end, and the payment of $15,000 of land bank funds.
Excuse me.
Further discussion?
So are we bringing these documents back to the February meeting for review? Or are we good with them if corporate counsel has them all drafted?
Good with corporate counsel on that.
Yeah, because she's got a time frame, and the county board's gonna approve it tonight, so.
Yeah, county board's seen all of those, so, okay.
Subject to satisfactory legal counsel.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0.
So I have a question. So Maple City Crossings, so the last two going up, they will be attainable prices?
The final two, the last duplex, which will be home 6 and 7, for the land bank agreement, will allow Habitat to sell them at market rate. We are not going to sell them at market rate, but we will sell them up to 120. It'll be a nice mixed income community. I do want to thank you for this vote today, because I think that this goes a long way, and what I think we all believe here, and everybody thinking that the only way to overcome our challenges is to work together as a team and collaborate. So I really do respect you for doing it. I appreciate your assistance, and I hope that we can serve 2 more families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really look forward to working with you. I know it's not on the agenda, but I have one more question then on Maple City Crossings. At one point, I thought that you weren't going to break ground until you had complete financing. You have got complete financing?
We still have a ways to go. We were able to finish the first 4 houses, not the last 2. We're not even going to start those this year. We're going to shift over to New Waves development here in Blue Diamond 72. That'll be our next project that we started in commitment to the owners of the property and developer, which is the New Waves at Church of Christ. We will have 3 rental units that we're building this year, as well as 2 additional home habitats.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so what's happened on the final, the pad? You have and you have pipe, there are pipes sticking up, so that's just gonna sit there for a while.
New York City project?
Maple City Crossings.
Must be the foundation.
Yeah, we don't have the foundation in for the final 2 though.
Oh, it looked like it. There's
We
something
have,
there. Okay.
we did all the infrastructure, the sewer system, the septic, the water, the well.
That's what
The
I'm
2
seeing.
houses
Straight
that were enclosed
drainage
now,
area.
we'll finish them in the next few months. We did have a little bit of a delay with consumers installation here with the infrastructure, but I think they're ready to come out now in February. Originally, they thought maybe March or April, so I think they're ready to come back down with the transparent.
I pass that all the time and I get excited. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Next, Action item is item 2, State Land Bank Authority 2023 Blight Elimination Grant, Elmwood Township request, pages 28 through 85. Of 85. Trudy, do you want to start off? And then we'll have-
Sure. Jeff Shaw, supervisor, is here to answer questions and tell you more about this. So Leelanau County Land Bank Authority, through the State Land Bank Authority, has a $200,000 allocation for grant funds for blight elimination. We discussed this back in 2022, and John and I sent out messages to all the townships and villages, to developers that we had on our list, to past properties where we had done some assessment work, but the development still hadn't occurred yet. Let them know that we have these funds and here's the things that we need in order to put together a grant application. It was more than just, oh, we're interested. When we look through the applications, like we as a land bank have to put together this application, and there's a lot of data that needs to go in here, and then we submit it to the state and see if they'll fund the project. John and I participated in a Zoom call with a couple representatives from the State Land Bank to find out if what Elmwood Township was requesting is something that would fall under blight elimination. We were told it was, because there's not a building there, but there's structures and there's pavement and so forth and curbs that all need to come out in order for them to proceed with their project. So what we did is when we sent this out to everyone, it was sent out November 21st, and we gave them a deadline, I think it was January 4th or so, or January 11th, to get us information back so that you would have the opportunity to look at it and see what applications we might have to submit. And last week, the day after the due date, I was contacted by someone who said they missed the deadline, could they still submit? And my response was, you can submit for the next round, not this round. We had a deadline in there because we're under timeline to get this done too. Elmwood Township has submitted a lot of documentation. I told them what we were looking for. They gave us support letters. They gave us the description of the project. They gave us the budget. They told us what it is they're trying to do. We have a phase 1. It is an older phase 1. I did mention to Jeff I wasn't sure what the state would require for that, if it was a requirement or they just want to see what we have for environmental work. Who knows what they may require some more environmental work. We'll find that out if we get approved for this. So what you have before you is an application that if you approve it, it would be sent to the state. We have to have it in by the end of this month, and then we would they would take till I think the middle or end of March to give us an answer on it if they're going to fund it. So our $200,000 allocation is there. We just need to have a project which they will approve. There will be a round 2, we were told, but we don't know what kind of funding will be in round 2. And that's a quick summary, so Jeff, feel free to
Yes.
add anything else or explain anything that I didn't hit.
Well, first of all, we appreciate the opportunity. Trudy wanted documentation, so you guys have 60-some pages. So I apologize for that, but I figured the more thorough, the more we have, the better. So when that email came through, Susan, we were in the process of, are you guys familiar with where the site is? It's behind the subway building in Graniteville. It was developed in 2003 originally. Those buildings that are down there were built in 2004. The developers went bankrupt in 2008. The township bought the vacant lots in 2012. And the developers never put the second coat of asphalt on. It's actually held up incredibly well considering that, but it's starting to deteriorate a lot. They had put in curb and gutters and foundations for the buildings that they anticipated building. Those foundations have heaved, and there's reroutes sticking out of some of them. They're broken up. The curb and gutter are broken up. You can see in the pictures some of the areas that are pretty blighted, pretty deteriorated. So fortunately for us, as far as the grant goes, we had already done the engineering on it and had a design process. We've been anticipating doing something with this lot for overflow parking since it was purchased by the township in 2012. So that was the intention of it. And the township is at the point now where we want to get that done, so we have overflow parking for the marina. We'll also give parking for the park across the street, right, Pearl Harbor Park, which, you know, is contiguous with Discovery Pier. You know, if you're familiar with all the things that are happening there, it'd be nice to get that parking in place. You know, potentially there's going to be an $80 million building where Children's Museum is, for, you know, Michigan Tech and NMC Water Studies. So it's a good time for us to do this. And, you know, we appreciate the opportunity for a grant request.
Okay, I'll start off. Sure, got a couple questions. And I think I read or possibly for TART trail parking in the far west part of that property.
Correct. So we have an easement that accesses the TART. Currently, you know, there were some new storage buildings built back there, if you're familiar with that, and there's just a gap in the fence that everybody uses to access that parking area, to get across the street, all that. And Jerry Snowden has allowed people to do that, but now that his storage units are done, he's going to close that off. And it wasn't an official easement to the trail, it's just always been used. So we actually have an easement just north of those storage units that runs east and west that connects our parking area to the TART. We're not sure what that looks like in the distant future as far as parking for the TART itself. You know, we've talked about having restrooms there, bathroom facility. The security of that is a concern at this point, so we're not going to start out with the bathrooms, but the design will allow bathrooms to be built there, and potentially parking to access the TART. If you go by there any Friday in the summertime, you'll see about 100 cars. The Traverse City Bike Club parks there currently and uses that. So there will probably continue to be some sort of use with that, but we're not really sure. There's about 6 weekends a year that we really need that overflow parking. You know, our goal at Elmwood Township has been to always keep our boat launch open. And there's about 6 or even 8 weekends in the summer where we are parked full, but we still want to allow people that have driven from who knows where to launch their boat to be able to launch their boat. So we really need that parking. But during the week, that lot is not parked full. In the summertime, it gets some parking, but it'd be nice to have that available for Traverse City Bike Club, or you know, Pathfinder uses our parking area quite often. When they have that Pathfinder, they shuttle people back and forth. There's a lot of potential good uses for it.
So when the township when people are on the township property on the water and they want to come to the parking lot, are they allowed to go through to the Center Point building and use the tunnel to get across, or do they have to go to the center island of Lane 2 down the road?
Human nature is they don't want to walk all the way to the tunnel.
And in 2025, you hope to get a...
Yeah, there'll be curving gutter, there'll be a crosswalk. Just north of the subway building, there is a sidewalk. And the township retained an easement on that sidewalk, and that's where the crosswalk will be. And as long as pedestrian traffic warrants it, which we have no doubt it will, that'll be a signalized crosswalk right there. So the idea, especially with that easement to the TART, is that, you know, we would be able to funnel people directly through that parking area. And there's 2 wooden bridges there with sidewalks that connect. We'll be able to funnel people from the TART all the way through to the parking across the street, the harbor, and ultimately Discovery Pier.
Okay. So, and lastly for me, just more of an aside than anything, I know in the 1970s or 80s, National Bank and Trust had a branch on the property that I think is where Tuscan Bistro was, or the borough is now, and it was sinking because of a sawmill, not Busy Bee business, which is your property, but you know, in the 1800s, there was a sawmill there, and there's a lot of sawdust below the surface, or quite, and was causing the building to sag and the safe. And then I know the brownfield property that we're working with for the condo, hotel, and marina next to the party store there. They were putting all kinds of vertical piers in to support the unstable land below. Now you're talking about a lot of weight for a hotel and stuff. So for this parking, and it looks like you're having sagging and things of that nature. I know the McDonald's property didn't have any sagging. But when you said engineering work was done, that was taken into account, so that there doesn't need to be repair and.
That's correct, yeah, our engineers did they did the soil borings and all that kind of stuff. And certainly if you were building buildings in there, they would have to be built on piers. But their conclusion was that it should be fine for parking. I own the subway building, that's mine, and I don't have any issues with my foundation. I know Corner Gem does, Kevin Gothier, his building has sunk quite a bit. That's one of the reasons why it works so well for us as a parking area and not to try to build buildings in there, because those soils I used to fish there as a kid. I fished Prairie Creek all the time. And if you stood in the middle and jumped, the entire area around you would jiggle. So in that part that the township bought, that part is in a conservation easement where Prairie Creek is. So there won't ever be anything there. We're hoping part of our Parks and Rec committee, the township has talked about building boardwalks through there. For people to be able to walk around the creek and connect to that easement to the park. So, but yeah, our engineers have done all the borings and everything. And there were two phase ones. I think Drew, you got the second one from 2012.
Yeah.
Did you get that one?
It's in our packet.
Okay, so
It shouldn't impact the parking lot work, but it's like 10 years old, I don't know. You're not getting financing or anything from it, so no lender's going to require an updated one.
right, and nothing has changed in there since 2012 when they did that. In other words, there's been no buildings built, that parking lot hasn't had any work. It's exactly the same, so.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was wondering if there was a better use for that, and then you mentioned the soil. And we have parked over there on July 4th to get out to our son's boat. Have you considered in the future a walkway over 22?
MDOT, I've spent a lot of hours with MDOT over the past 7 years. Their best, because that's an MDOT road.
Yeah.
So, and they've looked at tunnels, they've looked at crosswalks or walkovers. Cost-wise, and again, human nature, we've talked about the
Human nature, we went right across, but we
Yeah.
would have gone over.
if you were within 100 yards. But typically, if people are parked more than 100 yards away, according to MDOT, they're just going to try to cross the road and not walk all the way over,
Okay.
walk off and go over. So they don't think it's worth the cost. Plus, because of ADA requirements, you have to have a 500-foot approach or something, or elevators, which again, cost becomes an issue. So, I'm very excited about 2025 curb and gutter. This is something I've worked on since I got there. Deb knows this. This is a passion of mine, trying to create a safe corridor, safe way for people to get across. There will be a 10-foot multi-use path that goes from the old Holiday Inn all the way to Cherry Bend Road. So people won't have to cross Grandview Parkway, they won't have to cross Division Street, they won't have to cross M72 and M22 on the turf, they can stay right down the water. And that's going to improve those intersections completely. Again, having this parking where people can access that
Yes.
could be phenomenal.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
I'm not sure about the roundabout, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's MDOT.
Having had the opportunity to serve on Elmwood Township as a trustee for 2 years, I'm well familiar with this property and many of the opportunities, and also serving on the Parks and Rec Board. I think that this makes great sense, and if we could accomplish this, I think it would certainly help the aesthetics of that corridor as well.
And the application has to be in by the end of the month, right, Trudy?
Yes, and I have a question. So we have to approve the application, but we have to approve a resolution. And did you get the resolution forwarded to you from John Gallagher?
I did not.
Okay, so I have it pulled up on my computer. I can even print it out, or I can read it out loud if that works. It's a pretty simple resolution, but we have to have one from the land bank to go in the application.
Sure.
You want
Could you
to,
read it?
I can read it. Are we ready for that part?
I think so, we've done.
Okay. So we will give it resolution number 2023-01. Leelanau County Land Bank Authority grant application to State Land Bank Authority for fiscal year 2023. Whereas on January 17th, 2023, the Leelanau County Land Bank Authority approved submission of the grant application to the State Land Bank Authority. And whereas the grant is for 1 year with its award of March 31, 2023, in the amount of $200,000. And whereas the Leelanau County Land Bank Authority believes such a grant will be consistent with its public purpose as stated in MCL 124.752. And now therefore be it resolved by this board, it says Board of Commissioners, we need to change that. That the Leelanau County Land Bank Authority approves the submission of the fiscal year 2023 grant application to State Land Bank Authority as presented, and to authorize chair/secretary to enter into a grant agreement, disperse the grant funds, and do all the other things reasonably necessary and appropriate for the administration of this grant consistent with this resolution. And John put chair/secretary because in the application we had to state that he was the authorized signatory, and I would be serving as the project, what's my title here? Charge of the project, I guess. Can't find what page that's on. Project director. And I will take out that commissioner's part and just make sure it says Land Bank Authority.
And there's no reference to 200,000, but you mentioned the grant itself.
Yeah, now, it'll be up to the state whether they award that much, but that's what we're asking for, is the 200,000.
The application has to be signed and sent before the 31st, but all that other
Right.
stuff you said about having to disperse funds and all that, that won't be till March or so.
That would be as part of the grant application.
Right.
Oh, T, we're still in Land Bank Authority?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
You're close.
We could use another vote, but
Can't do it.
So do we have a motion and a second?
I move that we approve said resolution.
Support.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Hope you get your money.
Thanks, Jeff.
So now we're getting to the end. New action items, number 3, Grand Traverse Band property.
Okay, so
Shaka.
John sent an email, let me put this in the email now. So John sent an email that he had been in discussion with the tribe, and as you recall, originally we offered this property to the tribe, and they said they were interested, but they didn't want to pay, because it's $2,000 some odd dollars, so let me just find this. So then, got an email from the tribe, which said their general counsel is recommending the property owner next door be offered the opportunity to acquire the parcel. It's Mary Jo McSaubey. She's a tribal member. She bought the property where her house is now via a tax sale, so that happened quite a few years ago. She came through us and purchased an adjoining property. The tribe has spoken to her. She's wanting to acquire that property since it's contiguous to her home. She's also willing to pay the amount that the land bank paid for the property. And in this, I'll have to confirm this amount with John. This came back from the tribe. It's $2,581.20. So we have an opportunity now, instead of trying to sell this to the tribe for $1, to reach out to the adjoining property owner and sell it for what we have into it for the back taxes. So that's what is on your agenda here today. So if you want to take any action to reach out and offer it to the adjoining property owner who is a tribal member, that's what we would do with that property. As you recall, it's behind other properties, it has an easement to it, but it wasn't a property that we felt that we could really do anything with. The tribe kind of feels the same way, but it's in an area where there's other tribal properties, so it seems to make sense to try to get it in their hands.
Will the bonus be that it'll be on the Leelanau County tax rolls, or is it gonna be grandfather's band property?
I would have to look and see if she's a taxpayer. Let me see if I can check that out real quick for you here.
I'm trying to think of a reason we wouldn't do that.
I agree. I mean, this would be a bonus, like I said,
Yeah.
as it was, we're gonna lose $20-some hundred on it, but, you know,
If
makes
she-
sense to
if
give
she-
it to the tribe, you know, try to intergovernmental coordination and all that, you know, never hurts. And, we were never gonna be able to develop it. It wasn't much of an easement from the highway and all that stuff, so, yeah, this is better.
And the tribe doesn't care? Does the tribe have a preference?
Sounds like the tribe recommended that.
Yeah.
They could have bought it for $1 and then, but they're suggesting that we do that, so.
I like that better than the other one.
She is a tax-paying property owner.
Okay,
So she's a tribal member, but she owns this privately, so.
so we get property taxes on the home that she's in right now.
No, I think we're past that point, that 5-year, oh, I'm sorry, yes. The county collects property taxes on that.
Okay,
So selling this property, if I'm correct on this, is we're selling it to a private property owner for the amount we have in the taxes. We will also get the $550. So for 5 years, we will get 50% of the taxes comes to the land bank. So to me, it's a win-win, rather than
Sounds
selling it to the
good.
tribe for $1.
do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Support.
I'll give a little time here for Judy.
Okay.
$2,500 some dollars, okay.
Yeah, I'll double check that figure with John.
Right, subject, yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Last new item is number 4, vacant property listing update discussion. That was the handout that Trudy gave you all when you came in.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So John put this out for an RFP so that we could get some real estate companies responding, saying they'd like to list this property for us. He got 0 responses. So then he reached out to a company we've used in the past, Remax, Mr. Brick. We've used them on several properties and asked them to give a proposal. There's actually 24 pages to the proposal. I only copied these 2 because the rest of it really talks about their firm and, you know, their background and so forth. So this came in as a listing price less than what I thought, and I think less than what we have talked about in the past. But the first page just gives you an analysis of some similar properties in the area and their selling price. And then on the next page, the analysis of the comparable properties suggests a list price of $24,900. There are 6 sold at about $2,300, $416 average, 2 active properties at $29,500. So less than what we thought. This is up in the Cherry Home Shores property, so it's up in the Northport area, and
It's about 6 miles north of North.
6 miles north of Northport.
Across
Okay.
the street from a home that's on the water.
Yes.
So it's away from the water.
Yeah.
But there are 2 active beaches that, 3 active beaches that homeowners there are allowed to use.
So this is what a lot in Cherry Home goes for?
Yeah, I
I'm
saw one
surprised.
listed in the paper for $44,000. I looked up the local listing service thing, and it's a sloping lot like this one is. I don't know. Anyway, I don't see it in the in the paper anymore, it's not an indication that they sold it, but I thought we were gonna see one for like 40-some thousand, but if 6 of them sold for only 23,000, that must be the new market price.
So if we want to list this property, this is the only proposal that we have. I don't know if you're comfortable with that listing price, or if we want to set a higher price with the Realtor. It's up to the Land Bank Authority. And we're not under any hurry on this, so if we want to think about it and talk to John more next month, that's also an option.
However, we're gonna write a check for 15,000. It'd be nice to start replenishing that cash account in case something else comes up.
Right.
You know, prices are depressed, especially right now, but it could get worse.
Short term, yes, long term.
Well, that short-term thing that could happen in Congress could have long-term effects.
Too.
It could really mess up the market.
We're not gonna do a brownfield on it, no, you know, the township wouldn't agree to it, you know, so, you know, hope to put an affordable housing on, a property on there and getting the brownfield to do it and all that, it's not gonna happen, so let the market, I guess, do it in this case. We still have 5 other properties that we can try to develop as affordable housing. Yeah. So, is there an interest in coming up with a motion to work with this real estate agency, give them a listing agreement and list it for 24/9?
I'll move that, so moved.
Second,
Support.
further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 6-0.
Lastly, claims and accounts for John placing an ad in the Enterprise for blight elimination, request for interest. So do I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
So moved. Oh,
Bunch of them.
second.
Gwen, and then, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0. Trudy, do you have a check ready for Rick to sign?
No, John will take care of that when he's back in.
Okay.
He's got the checkbook on that.
Post audit, anything, Trudy?
No,
Correspondence, communication items?
we went over everything.
Public comment? Mr. Mavi?
Hi, thank you. I have a point, maybe a point of order. You passed a resolution supporting the application for Elmwood Township. My concern is you did it with a voice vote. Do you need to have a roll call?
Yes.
I don't want you to have it messed up, so.
We'll do
now's
it.
an opportunity for you to go back and do a roll call.
Good,
Oh,
thanks for
good. Thank
bringing
you.
that up. We'll do it. But John, we had was trying to get rid of real estate, and John did a voice vote, and I said, I think for real estate, for real property, you need a voice vote. No, we're okay. So, better safe than sorry. So we'll revisit new business item 2 for the blight elimination grant. Rudy, would you do a roll to approve, to record every person's vote on this?
Sure. Deb Allen,
Yes.
Gwen Algeir,
Yes.
Trudy Galley, yes. Dan Hines,
Yes.
Rick Foster,
Yes.
and we have 2 absent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for fixing that up.
Thank you. Not thinking right now.
Any other public comment? Member comments? Chairperson comments, none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Do we get a 5-minute break?
Yes.